We start today with more alleged criminality. Trump's fake electors in Arizona indicted. Rudy Giuliani for his involvement in that scam. Indicted.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Well, we will see. This is extraordinary news and the correct decision that has been made by a grand jury. Let's talk about it. NBC News reporting. Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, and Arizona fake electors charged with state crimes. The state attorney general announced the indictments of Trump aides and allies after an investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. I want to remind you what this was all about. As many of you know, we have a system in the United States where each state holds its own presidential election. The winner of each state is actually voted for by electors rather than directly by the voters. The voters in Arizona vote for Trump or Biden. If Biden wins, what they have essentially done is sent a bunch of Biden electors to say, we cast our electoral votes for Joe Biden. Sort of like a point system. Each state assigned a number of points. What the fake electors, what Trump and his surrogates like Rudy Giuliani and others tried to do in Arizona was, despite the fact that the Arizona popular vote was won by Joe Biden and that it should have been Biden electors who said, we cast our electoral votes for Biden, they tried to send in a substitute team of electors that would vote for Trump, even though they had no basis whatsoever to do that. And at some point, you would think logic would kick in for these electors and they would say, wait a second, Trump didn't win Arizona. I have no legal, electoral, ethical, moral, empirical, or logical basis to show up as an elector and say we cast our electoral votes for Donald Trump. At some point, you would think that thought would kick in and they would say, hey, maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe this is something I will get in trouble for doing. But that apparently did not happen. And now they are going to have to face consequences. The NBC article goes on to say a state grand jury indicted Trump aides, including Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Boris Epshteyn, as well as the so-called fake electors who backed then President Trump in 2020. This is all after a sprawling investigation into the alleged efforts to overturn the election results. The summary of what took place from NBC is that 1 month after the 2020 election, 11 Trump supporters convened at the Arizona Republican Party headquarters in Phoenix to sign a certificate fraudulently claiming, I would add, to be Arizona's 11 electors to the Electoral College, even though Biden won by over 10,000 votes and state officials certified Joe Biden's electors. The state Republican Party documented the signing of the certificate in a social media post, sent it to Congress and the National Archives. Fascinatingly, Donald Trump is described as an unindicted co-conspirator number 1 in the indictment, which includes charges of conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. The document also describes people who have been charged in the case but not yet served and whose names are redacted. Meadows, former White House chief of staff; Giuliani, former New York City mayor and Trump lawyer; Epshteyn, a Trump campaign official and attorney; and then others you may or may not have heard of: Mike Roman, Jenna Ellis, Christina Bobb, John Eastman, and others. This is all fantastic news. And it is not fantastic news because we want to circumvent law and order and indict or imprison people simply because we don't like them politically. It is because we defend and support law and order. And when you look at what was done here, you apply the reasonable person test. Any reasonable person, when told, how about this? Show up, sign that you're an elector for Trump, and we'll send this in and file these documents through a legal process, an administrative process, even though we have no actual basis in fact to do it. Any reasonable person, maybe not a 5-year-old, right? But any reasonable adult would have said, this doesn't sound right. This could be illegal. It certainly sounds immoral. It's absolutely unethical. I could get in trouble for this. And so now they are going to have to face the consequences, hopefully, at least having to lawyer up and going through this legal process. They have been indicted, Trump an unindicted co-conspirator, and we will see where all of it lands. Sometime in the next 6, 12, 18 months, these things do move slowly, but they do move, and we're going to be following it very closely. We all know how tough it can be to find a pair of jeans that fits right and looks good. You spend hours at the mall, weeks shipping stuff back and forth online trying to find something. Meet the perfect jean. Our sponsor, The Perfect Jean, makes great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants. I wear these myself. They really are that comfortable. My Perfect jeans are my favorite pair of jeans right now. The secret is a special denim fabric that is super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch so you can squat, do yoga, just sit around without wanting to take them off. They come in 6 different fits, whether you're looking for big, tall, skinny, short. The Perfect Jean has sizes you won't find on most other websites. And The Perfect Jean is giving my audience 15% off your first order, plus free shipping. Go to theperfectjean.nyc and use code PACMAN15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them I sent you. The link is down below.